Okay then guys, we've got a bunch of products at First Man. So first up is the men's lifestyle supplement. This is free shipping worldwide, and if you pay monthly on the subscription, you can get an extra 10% off. We've got our life setup, marathon mindset and framing course, where we talk about body language, we talk about attracting women, we talk about how to build your life in a certain way to make yourself appear more attractive to the world, how to get the best results, etc. Fantastic course, got everything that you need. A lot of things that I can't talk about on this channel that is all in the course. We've got our streaming platform at 1m.video, which is our higher form of content, series, documentaries. We're really pushing to get these out over the next few months, guys. We're taking this to the next level. And then finally, we've got our new 1M House Members Club, which the links are below. You can check out the website. There's way too much to explain. In short, we buy houses around the world. You live in them. If that sounds of interest, check the link below. Now, straight into the video you came here to watch.
Okay, so obviously documentaries, new standards of male beauty, what you do with BaldCafe, you very much support men being who they naturally are, you know, and not doing too much, not overdoing it, embracing that masculine side of appearance, so to speak.
Yeah.
Do you think in this generation that men are taking it too far with their beauty standards?
It's difficult to see, it's difficult to assess taking it too far. I think my first thought on it is that it very much links to the hair situation, right? The hair falling out, in the sense that there is an industry being built around promoting insecurities, whether it's your hair, whether it's your skin, whether it's your weight, all sorts of things, beards, right? Anything that is typically sort of masculine or that feeds into the male beauty standards, I feel like now can be exploited, right? And I think it's done so by promoting, and I think generally in the media advertising, if we group those together, promoting the sort of feelings and thoughts that there's something wrong with you, right, if you're not doing these things. And I don't know if you know perhaps more than me, but you know the cellulite, right, in the women's space, the term cellulite was, I believe it was coined by Vogue magazine, right, as a way to sort of, so they created an insecurity to then have products to deal with that insecurity, right, to sort of sell against fixing that problem. And I just think that female side is probably, they feel like, right, we've exhausted our potential here in the female side. Oh, we're missing out on 50% of the population here. Let's start creating some of these more insecurities in men, and then they're going to be eaten out of our hands with all these products we create and promote. Fantastic. And I just feel like that has been a trend over the last sort of 5-10 years. And I mean, me personally, like, I would never think of a like 5-step skincare routine unless I perhaps saw it on an advert or something. And then what do I then feel like, oh, am I doing something wrong? Like, am I not reaching my potential if I'm not doing that? But do I even need it? I think it's a question for maybe the older generations, and you know, to see what they did, And I think it's really interesting, because think about all these, like, even down to like soaps and things like that. You know, have you seen those with like pheromones in them or something? You know, probably like, oh, if you don't smell like a man, if you don't smell like a man, right, then it's like there's something, you're not reaching your full potential. And it's almost like every single avenue is being exploited at this point, you know, and it's a good question, where is too far?
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. Where do you think it goes too far? Because I'm all for things like skincare. I'm all for things like, I think if somebody gets their teeth done, I don't think that's too bad, because it's a hygiene thing. You're always smiling. If somebody's got bad teeth, we all dislike it. But it goes too far for me when it's stuff like jawline fillers, when it's stuff like ab etching, or, you know, I think men wearing makeup now, it's like, how far is this going to go? You know, it's just taking it to the extreme. But the other question I was going to ask you, which links into this, is that it's like the 100-meter sprinters. if one guy's on steroids, everyone has to be on steroids. It's the same with the Tour de France, which is on right now. Like everybody is on drugs. Everyone looks at Lance Armstrong and takes the mick, but everybody was on it and everyone still is on it. He just got caught. So is it the same by levels of competition with men's standards of beauty now, that if a handful of guys, the top 1%, start doing it, what does that mean for the other 99%? Are they going to get left behind, which by default means that they're going to then have to start doing it just to keep up? Like, that's a slippery slope, because I think in my dad's generation, where they just used soap and they just had a flannel and whatnot, and he always taught me, you know, don't be soft, don't gel your hair and whatever, it was fine for a time being. I'm not sure you can get away with it now. Now, you can go too far. As we said, I don't think I'd ever do ab etching. I think I'd rather go to the gym and get in shape and clean up my diet. But, you know, if there are other guys doing certain things and getting an edge on you, you know, where does that leave you? Where do you stand on competition?
I mean, again, this is kind of an interesting discussion because I haven't thought loads about this before, but most guys, I think, at the end of the day, would prefer a naturally beautiful woman, right? They would prefer someone who, natural beauty is a different kind of beauty. Do you know what I mean? And I think a woman who is putting so much into trying to look a certain way, there's a point where it becomes off-putting and unattractive. And I would ask the question is, on the male side of things, is it going to be the same? Where you get guys now, more and more guys doing all these different things to create this sort of illusion, in a sense, right? Another form of an illusion or an enhancement, but one that isn't natural to them. Is that going to be off-putting for women when they think, like, I don't like the fact that you are putting so much into trying to look a certain way? I think that's generally an interesting question, but that would be my guess. That's the way I would feel. I think a guy would have more success doing the best he can with what he has, rather than trying to constantly chase a fake illusion. Because that kind of goes back to my thing of like, the more, if you don't have a solid foundation of self-esteem based on these things, you can do all you want. It's not going to fill that void. At the end of it, it's not going to fill that void. And there's so much that goes into attraction, if that's the point we're kind of discussing, you know, in dating and women and things like that. So much that goes onto it, but including a healthy self-esteem, confidence in yourself, especially if you're talking about a long-term relationship and things like that. I think, yes, if you enhance yourself to a certain degree, you might get that physical attraction more so straight away. But where does it go after that? You know, how much do you need to constantly chase that kind of illusion to keep that? And is it sustainable? I'd argue not. I'd argue not so, you know. But it is very interesting. There's definitely a trend. You know, there's definitely a trend, and especially the product side of things. Instagram, like you said, jawline. I mean, you watch one of those, you come across one of those videos, and next thing you know, the other one, the leg extension, you know, which is just like mind-boggling. To compromise your natural ability, you know, to compromise your health, that's compromising your actual like physical ability just so you can stand a few inches taller, is mind-blowing to me. I mean, shout out to all the short kings, right, who are dealing with that. I mean, I've not, so I can't comment too hard on that point. However, it's worrying. Okay, it's a worrying trend. Where does it end is the best question. How far is too far? I think when you're compromising your own self in that way, are you delving into the things of like body dysmorphia and stuff like that? Is this industry helping to promote things like body dysmorphia, which is also, I think, an important discussion to have, right? I think loads is happening in the female space in that, and they've made a ton of progress over the last like 20, 15 years, women pushing back. I'm sure you remember the like model era where everyone had to be like stick thin. Now it's gone the complete opposite, right? It's all the thickness is kind of in, right? So it changes, but they've done a lot to promote that. I think the male side of things, we are seeing things like that starting. It's going to be a very interesting few decades, I think.
Do you think men are worried about the wrong things? You know, my dad's generation, it was very much about being kind of the breadwinner. You know, go to work, start a business, earn the money, bring it back, protect the family, the important things, you know, the masculine role. Do you think it's dangerous that men are really, like, taking care of yourself is great. I'm a supporter of it. But do you think men are overlapping into the feminine role because they're not as masculine as they used to be? So they're, you know, women, somebody said to me the other day, which I thought was it was a great answer that they gave. They said that now that women have got their own money, they don't need to rely on men. Men's importance is lowered, which means that they're having to worry more about their beauty because they never had to do that before because it's become important for the first time ever.
Now, a woman can fly fighter jets, be a firewoman, policewoman, whatever. I mean, they've done that for ages, but a woman can essentially do pretty much every job. You know, they're joining the army, aren't they joining the Marines now or something, I think, right? The way for a man to, I guess, define his masculinity against a woman is less and less and less, you know, earning the same amounts of money, things like that, like you said, co-parent, you know, doing all the same things parent-wise. So I think it has become more difficult for a man to define that masculinity. I mean, even the discussion here is not always so clear cut, right? I mean, that seems to be what most people are doing now anyway, right? I mean, this is a part of it, this discussion, but it's becoming so difficult for a man to perhaps define that. I think men are looking at the one thing that they perhaps do have, and that's their appearance, their body, because that is one thing that, you know, in most circles still, even that is becoming cross. The boundaries are being blurred there even, right? But that is perhaps the one thing that a man feels like he can enhance or really dive into to still perhaps get that feeling of differentiation from women.